Hey, everybody, and welcome to another great episode of Late Night Podcast with Bridget and Holly. I'm your host, Bridget.
And I'm your host, Holly.
We're glad to have you guys with us. And before we forget, make sure y'all like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube to get more great podcasts like these. If you're on Spotify, because we're now on Spotify, make sure you hit subscribe to Spotify so you can catch these new episodes every week. Anyhow, today we're going to discuss the 80s, y'all.
Yes.
And y'all, last night, we were going to do this podcast last night. We dressed up to the nines. Had
Oh,
our hair boofed up, makeup, the eye makeup all the way up to your eyebrows, the whole nine. But the podcast didn't work, so we're doing it today. And you know what? Today we ain't putting all that effort in. You ain't getting that effort twice. I'm just going to be honest with you.
right. We'll do it another time.
Holly's
Another
like,
time.
right.
Yes, it made
Right.
my eyes break out and everything. Uh, so what you
Yeah,
got planned for
it's
today?
Well, we're gonna get into this, but I'm gonna let you get started. Whatever you want to start with, y'all. We're just talking everything in the '80s. We're gonna talk about popular styles, toys, popular things that we did in the '80s. Like, what did you kids do back then? The popular movies, top songs, top TV shows. I'm gonna go over some median cost. Basically what was the median during that time. I got a few interesting facts, some of the hottest cars, and some of the '80s lingo. But I'll let you get started, Holly.
All right, so we'll just do a little introductory of what things are popular in the 80s. So, this is when women started becoming like more empowering in the 80s. And so they brought in the suits, the shoulder pads, lady ties, permitted pop culture as well. And they were showcased in movies like 9 to 5, that was made 1980, Working Girl, 1988. TV shows like Dynasty, which ran from 1981 to 1989. You got Moonlighting, 85 to 89. And all of those featured strong female characters who brought even more popularity to the power dressing trend. And
Mm-hmm.
also, you also saw a huge rise in the 80s with video games, with like stand up machines from like Centipede, Pac
Yeah.
Man, Street Fighter, and took all the kids to going, like to the malls and the arcades and stuff. And then the
Yep.
favorite food of that audience was pizza. Like that was the thing to do, is go to the arcade and get some pizza. And
Eat some pizza.
yeah, and the most popular chain back then was Chuck E. Cheese. That was the
Oh, okay.
first most popular one. It was a match made in heaven, they said, because you had entertainment and pizza, and that's where it was born. And also too, because we're going to be going over this to the podcast. Um, this also is when MTV took over the airwaves. So in 1981, they were the world's first music video channel that kicked off things with Video Killed the Radio Star. And while the song's concept of that song have exactly foretold the future, it certainly changed the way fans viewed musical artists. The 24-hour musical channel, with its Moon Man logo and target audience back then was from ages 12 to 34, started as a way to promote new artists by airing their videos, music documentaries, concert footage. They had a rotation with VJs, aka video jockeys, if y'all don't know, that were hosts. Prince, Michael Jackson, Cyndi Lauper, Boy George. Others did videos that often made headlines, broke barriers. Jackson's 13-minute short film music video for Thriller was the first of its kind. Shows including Yo MTV Raps, launched in 1988, brought hip hop culture to the mainstream. And the annual Video Music Award, which I did not know, started in 1984, and not only recognized music videos as a new art form, but um, they garnered huge publicity. Think like Madonna emerging from a massive wedding cake as she sang like a virgin, and sparking sales of fingerless lace gloves worldwide. So the 80's has brought in a whole, just a whole bunch of stuff that still kind of trends to this day.
Mm-hmm. It definitely has. Some of the popular styles though back then, and I lived it, okay? So I didn't have to really do a whole lot of research on this because it was stuff that I remember wearing. But we wore like acid wash jeans, and we had two-tone jeans where the front would be blue and the back would be, the front would be acid wash blue and the back would be an acid washed gray or
I
black.
never had a pair
Um,
of those.
Oh, I loved them, and the thing was, I remember going to spend the night with one of my friends that lived in another state. I had met her at a camp, and she kept my damn jeans, and I kept messaged her about please. My dad was like, just tell her she'll mail them back. We'll pay for the ship and everything. Never got my damn jeans back, and I remember that to this
Oh,
day.
she
But
wanted
we
those
also
jeans.
had,
That's why
I know,
she
yeah, that's what
wanted
it
them.
was. We wore stuff like leg warmers and shoulder pads. You mentioned that. You could not your shoulder pads, some of them were built into the shirts, but you had always had to buy extra ones in case you bought a shirt that didn't have them, and
Yep.
you could put them in there. And most all the shirts were made with the velcro type strip right here where you could velcro your shoulder pads in. That was so crazy. We had a lot of like high waisted jeans. We, of course, the jean jacket. That was like the staple of the 80's. You got to have your jean jacket. If you didn't,
Yeah.
you just wasn't in. And in mine, I was name brand kind of mine it had to be Levi's. When I told my daddy, he said, I'll get you a jean. I don't want that one. I've got to have a Levi jean jacket. It was crazy. We also wore like leggings were a popular, fanny packs, jelly shoes. Did you ever remember jelly
Oh
shoes?
my god, my sister. Oh my gosh, she had every color of jelly shoes you could think of. And I would
Me
go in
too.
there and I would wear them. And she would get so mad. She'd be like, quit wearing my shoes. I'm like, but they're so cute.
They were. And then stuff like we had Swatch watches was in. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah, I heard of
Remember
those.
Swatch and spandex. Lord, spandex was the thing. The Valley Girl accent, parachute pants. You ever heard of parachute pants?
I owned a pair of parachute pants. They look like the MC. We called them MC Hammer pants though. When it
Yeah.
was popular in the 90's, like for us and stuff.
Well, these pants were made out of like a material that would remind you of like a parachute. And they weren't really the flared like that, like MC Hammer, but they had lots of pockets on them, similar to what they call cargo pants now. It's
It was
crazy.
like made out of like wind jacket material.
Yeah. And then you had like hair crimping and big hair. You gotta have big
Yeah.
hair. The bigger the hair, the closer to Jesus. That was our saying.
Yeah, I heard that.
But those are some of the popular trends and styles that I can remember in the 80's, especially right off the top of my head. I didn't even have to look any of those up. I just remember
Really?
those. Mm-mm.
Um, so I looked up some stuff too, like the most popular toys in the 80's, and there was Teddy Ruxpin,
Yep.
uh, Cabbage Patch Kids, which I was a huge fan of Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yep.
My Little Pony, Care Bears,
Yep.
Pound Puppies,
Yep.
Game Boy, Barbie, Light Bright, G.I. Joe. Did you ever have a glowworm?
I did.
I loved my glowworm. I slept with it every night. Strawberry shortcake, Etch a Sketch, Easy Bake Oven, Beanie Babies, Masters of the Universe. Like the list could go on and on, but those are like some of the most, like that was the top 15 most popular toys of the 80's.
Right. And for us, I'd aggravated my dad. I had to tell you a story about this Cabbage Patch Kids, but I'd aggravated my daddy. I wanted a Sony Walkman. And like you said, a lot of the games, the micro machines, the speak and spell, all of those are really, really popular back then. To me, I think, I honestly think the 80's was the best decade ever. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? Like,
hands down.
I don't
Hands
think there's been
down.
one before, and I don't think there'll ever be one again.
I don't
But on
either.
the Cabbage Patch Kid, I've told you, I've shared with everybody on here before, we were like extremely poor, dirt poor. My dad was the only one working. He made like $130 a week, and he had to pay rent and everything off that, and raise me. And I wanted a Cabbage Patch doll, and those things back then, I think were still like I don't remember, 20,
They
thirty
were like
dollars for a Cabbage
50,
Patch doll.
I think 50 and $60, wasn't they back then?
They could have been, and that was very expensive. That was, I mean, that's
Yeah.
half my dad's paycheck. So I remember him. We one time he said, we couldn't never afford to do much. I never even went to the beach till I got older. And Ronnie's the first one that took me to the beach. And anyhow, he there was a Cabbage Patch doll. We went. He said, "Let's go to the mountains." I said, "Okay." And so he said, "We'll just go to the mountains, get a bucket of chicken, and go sit up there on the parkway and eat it." And that's the kind of stuff we did for fun. So we're
Right.
driving up there and we stop at a convenience store to get some gas, use the bathroom and all this, and they had a Cabbage Patch doll in there. And she had blonde hair, blue eyes, pink dress, pink shoes. She was me. You know what I'm saying? She was me. Because
Uh,
back then, if people don't remember, your Cabbage Patch doll had to match you.
it did. It did because I
Hmm.
got one that had red hair like me. And I
Yes.
always wanted a Cabbage Patch doll. And my mama and daddy got me one that had long, curly red hair and hazel green eyes. I toted her
Oh.
everywhere. Everywhere.
Do you remember her name?
I don't. I was just about to say I cannot for the life of me remember what her name was. Do you remember yours?
I don't. Well, no, because let me finish the story. I didn't get to tell you. So my dad refused to buy it. He couldn't buy it, and I went into pouting. Didn't get my way fit. Ruined the whole trip to the mountains because I pouted the rest of the day. Which now 50-year-old me looks back on that and is like, you petty bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like your dad was trying to do something good for you. He didn't have any money and you didn't appreciate it, but you're a child. You don't realize it. You
You
know what I'm
don't realize
saying?
it when you're little.
Mm-mm. So anyhow, me and Mr. Ronnie get together, and it's the first year we're together. We got together in December, so it wasn't that Christmas. It was the next year where you what I call pillow talk. It's when you're laying there in bed at night and you're sharing stories and deep thoughts with each other about life and things like that. And so, and other people not might think pillow talk's different of that, but that's what we call it. Anyhow, so I was sharing the story with him about the Cabbage Patch doll. And he's like, "Babe, you never got your Cabbage Patch doll?" I said, "Never." And he goes, "Well, that's sad." And he said, "Well, that's why I've always tried to do everything I can for my kids and I didn't get blah, blah, blah." So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, fast forward, it's Christmas, our second Christmas together. And he's opening gifts and he's holding this one to the very end. And because I told him, just like I told you about her and everything, I opened that gift, and Holly, it was a blonde haired, blue eyed Cabbage Patch doll with a pink dress and pink shoes.
Oh, that was so
And he said,
sweet.
"Yeah," he said to me, he said, "Babe, I can't let you live this life and leave this earth and not get the doll you always wanted with all your heart."
The doll of your dreams.
And do you know I still have that doll to this day, and he bought that for me over 20 years ago?
Oh, and I bet it's in mint condition too.
It most
Oh,
definitely is.
that is so
Yeah,
sweet.
whatever. Ain't
I
that
don't know where mine
sweet?
is. I wish I still had mine. I have no idea where it's at.
Well, you asked me what
Um.
her name was. I didn't have one named when I was a child, but we named her Bridget.
Oh, did you? I
Yeah.
love the little stamp on their butt, the little Cabbage
Yeah.
Patch stamp. Like that made them so unique,
Hmm.
so unique. Then they
Yeah.
come with the little diaper and everything. They were so adorable, so adorable.
They were.
That was a cute story. Um,
Thank you.
I loved my Cabbage Patch doll. Um, I
Me
also,
too. It meant everything to me.
yeah. Um, so I also did some more research on like popular songs, movies. You covered the fashion wear. Um, you covered some of the hairstyles. But one of the things that I did was I wanted to see what the teen heartthrobs for us females were and the heartthrobs for men. So for us, it said that the top 10
Hold
teen
on a
heart.
minute. I want to name a couple of them and see because I didn't look that up. I want to see if I get any of these right.
Oh, okay.
Let's
You,
see. I I know Rob Lowe was.
well, actually, I did say he was on the list. He was like on the top 20, and I just did the top 10. But Rob Lowe was on that list. I just didn't write him down. But that is one of
And
them.
Michael J. Fox was.
Michael J. Fox was number one, baby. He was number
Yeah.
one. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Michael J. Fox was, and let me think. And I remember Ricky Schroeder. Do you have him down?
He wasn't on the list.
Oh, he didn't make the list. Dang, poor Ricky.
No.
Uh,
I mean, he was cute, though, but
um,
I wouldn't call him a heartthrob.
yeah. So you remember him in Silver Spoons?
Yes, like those were reruns for me, but I watched them. I love Silver Spoon.
Yeah, and I was trying to think of some of the other ones. Now I liked Marky Mark and the Funky. I still have a crush on him. Mark
That's your
Wahlberg.
boo thing. He wasn't
That's
on
my.
the
Did he
list.
make the list? Damn,
Because
you
I think
kidding?
this. No, because I think
Look
this
at this
is
list, Runger.
this is going by more actors and not singers. So it's more of like who was on
Oh,
TV that were like the heartthrobs. Because you've got Michael J. Fox, of course, which is number one. Patrick Swayze, John Stamos, Johnny Depp, Will Wheaton,
oh.
River Phoenix, Corey Haim, which Corey Haim I can see because he was good looking.
So
You
far,
got
none of
Keith.
those you named I thought was attractive.
Oh wow, you got Kiefer Sutherland, Patrick Dempsey, which is one of my all-time favorite, and Andrew McCarthy.
Oh, yeah, I remember Andrew McCarthy
Yeah, now
being
he was good.
hot.
And then for the guys, the popular females were Molly Ringwald, Jodie Foster, Melanie Griffith, Demi Moore, Ali Sheedy, Madonna, Goldie Hawn, Gina Davis, Cindy Crawford, and Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
My brother,
I always thought the guys liked Farrah Fawcett because every time I went to school, they was, ooh, Farrah Fawcett, she's so hot.
really, I'll never forget in my brother's room, because back then our walls were covered with posters, and well, I don't know if you ever did that, but because I'm more like
Oh, yeah.
looking at how you dressed last night, I can tell you're more early '80s, and I'm more later '80s baby. And so our styles are a little different. So back then, we would take like our favorite actors, actresses, which of course mine was actors, teeny bop guys, and favorite bands and stuff, and you couldn't hardly see our wall. And I'll never forget my brother on his ceiling had a picture of Cindy Crawford in her swimsuit above his bed. His
Oh, how
wall
fun.
was covered with like rock band, Cindy Crawford, like all kind of swimsuit girls. And it was so funny when Mama finally redid that room. All you saw was like 1,000 little thumbtack holes in those walls because they were covered so much. His was more covered than mine. I had like two walls in my room done with like New Kids on the Block, um, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, Warren Poison, just all kind of different actors back then. Molly Ringwald, because I loved her. I even had ones of Andrew McCarthy. So that was good times right there, good times.
Oh, it was. Well, now, last night when I dressed up, bear in mind that I went kind of extreme because the 80s was neon colors. And I think my love of colors comes from the fact that I was born in the 70s and that's a hippie child. And then I was also raised in the 80s, which the 80s was neon colors, bright neon
Uh
colors. I
huh.
mean, the brighter the better. But that look that I had last night more was like mid 80s. I'll be honest with you. That was more the leg warmers and all that stuff. Because by the time I was to the age of graduating high school, it was more like you was like last night, more rock star 80s, where you was dressed with your more punk, what I call
Yeah,
punk
my blue
style.
jean jacket and hair all poofed on
Yeah,
the yeah.
yeah, and that was more of what. But now you talk about posters on the wall. You want to hear what mine were?
What were yours of?
Ozzy Osbourne, Iron Maiden, those type things.
Now, no, my brother now Ozzy, because he was a heavy metal. I was more teeny bop and stuff. But yeah, he had Ozzy, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, like all of that. Skid Row. He was hardcore metal.
Well, I
I
know my
wouldn't have
dad one
pictured you with
time.
that though.
I know,
I thought
I
you were
know.
gonna say like teeny boppers of like I don't know, like what's his name that played in Charles in Charge that was in Happy Days. What's his
Scott
name?
Baio.
Oh,
Scott
he is
Baio.
still fine to this day, girl. I thought you were gonna say
Why
stuff
didn't
like
he
that.
make that list? Why didn't he
I
make
don't
that list?
I don't know. He may have been on there, and I just didn't scroll far enough. Because again, I just did like the top 10 that I had saw.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I know one time I had a picture of Ozzy Osbourne and he was sitting in a throne and he had his hands on each side of the throne and he was leaned forward, like, with his mouth open. You know how
Yeah.
Ozzy was. And I'd started getting into a lot of trouble in school. I mean, I tried my dad so many times, it's unreal. And so he come in there and he's like, and it's this music and these posters and this, da, da. And he ripped my Ozzy Osbourne poster down and tore it to shreds.
Oh no.
Yeah, and so I remember picking up the pieces and getting me a roll of tape, and I flipped it over and I was taping it all back together like a puzzle. And I got it all back together and I rolled it up and put it under
Wow.
my bed because he was not going to do away with my Ozzy poster.
Girl,
But oh
you
yeah,
should
I
have
went
kept
back.
that. You should have kept
I don't
that.
have anything.
Like, that would have been a good memorabilia, piece of memorabilia.
I don't even have much pictures from the 80s, much less that. So
I still have
you
my
did the
ET. My
you
ET
did?
doll. I still have my ET doll.
Oh. So also, I was going to let you know, like popular things that we did back in the 80s, and you kind of covered this, but the arcade was definitely huge on that. Roller skating. You had to be
Yes.
going to the roller skating rink on Friday and Saturday night. Come on now. Uh, Believe it or not, aerobics was really popular in the 80s. Everybody
Oh,
loved
yeah, it
aerobics.
was.
And I remember like dancing in the living room with Richard Simmons.
Wait, not Jane Fonda?
Yeah, yeah. Break dancing. You remember break dancing got really
God,
popular in the
yes. Get
80s.
that on your thing. You just start like spinning in a circle,
Duh, duh, duh,
doing the
duh.
caterpillar or
Remember?
whatever it was called.
Remember?
Robot. When it was supposed to be like this.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
God.
concerts. Going to the concerts. That was another popular thing to do in the 80s if you could plan to go to a concert. And sleepovers. We loved to have sleepovers in the 80s. I don't think people do sleepovers as much as we did, but we had huge sleepovers with a bunch of girls. And you know what else we loved to do in the 80s? Prank
What was
calls.
that?
We love to do prank calls. That was just like a thing you
Oh,
just wanted to do.
I grew up. I was the queen of prank calls. I called this one place so much. This is no lie. I can't remember what it was for, but they were some type of Australian place. And I would call and say, "Good day, mate. You going down to Australia, go down under." And I would just call and prank them. And back then, we would do three-way. And it would be me, Tammy, and Aaron. I called them
Yeah.
so much because after you would say whatever, and they would say, "And what's your telephone number?" And I would just keep going, and then I'd hang up on them. So I called so much that one time after I got done doing, they said, "And your number is 843-523." I was like, "Oh God!" And I hung up because they finally
Yeah,
had
because
got
then
my
they
phone
started coming
number.
out with caller ID back then. They started coming out with caller ID, and
Yeah,
you knew.
they had really, really, really got me then, and we laughed so hard. We used to call this one company where you could request, like they would send you like these courses. You would call and tell them what you wanted to go to school to be, and I would always call me and Aaron and Tammy would call and we just would act silly and we'd be like, we want to be a locksmith. And it's for like calling about being a doctor, a nurse, or a psychiatrist. And we're like, can you help us be a locksmith? Like, we were stupid, but it was so funny.
It was like a hobby. It's just something you did.
It
You and
was.
your girls got together and you prank call. We would prank call boys. We would always test each other's boyfriend. I'm gonna call your boyfriend and see if he wants to go out with me and all this stuff. And the next thing you know, somebody's mad and getting their feelings hurt. It was a thing. We definitely did that.
We would call and order pizza to people's houses.
Yep, me
Pizza
too.
Hut is delivery.
Yeah, most
Oh
definitely.
God. We should do some prank calling on the podcast one time. I think that would be fun. Um, I also got a list of the top movies from the 80s. Now, I know you're not a TV person, but I'm curious to see if you have seen a lot of these movies from the 80s,
I bet you
okay?
have. Yeah,
Footloose.
never seen it. Not the original. I seen the remake
Why
with
would you
Miles
watch the
Taylor.
remake of Footloose?
Because
Why?
Miles Taylor, baby, Miles
Oh,
Taylor.
I forgot. She's obsessed with Miles Teller, y'all. E.T.,
Yes, I've seen it.
Pretty in Pink,
Yep, seen it.
Goonies Never Die, baby.
Never saw it.
Bridget, this podcast is over. You have never seen the Goonies.
Never.
Where he goes, Rocky Road. Yeah. The weird guy with the bubble head and bug eye. Oh my god. He comes friends with the chunky kid. Chunk. I think that was his name, Chunk. Breakfast Club.
Oh yeah, listen. I watched The Breakfast Club probably 100 times. I
Oh,
watched it so much that I could literally sit there and say the lines with each person.
right. That epic movie. I'm surprised that was not number one.
I
Um,
know.
Beetlejuice.
Yes, I love
You
Beetlejuice.
you say Beetlejuice. Saint Elmo's Fire.
Yeah, I saw it.
That was a really good movie. I know you've had them seen Weekend at Bernie's.
Nope.
When Andrew McCarthy's in it, and I can't think
Yeah,
of
I
the other
know
guy's
he's
name.
in it. No,
Oh my
never
god,
seen it.
Mannequin.
Never seen it.
Oh my god. Okay, and the last one I already know the answer to because we talked about this when we were on vacation together. Dirty Dancing. I've seen the remake Havana Nights.
Yeah. Well, I
Oh
don't
my
even know if I've
god.
seen. I don't even know if I've seen the remake because I was confusing it with Miles Teller and Footloose.
Oh god, so you ain't seen Dirty Dancing. Oh God, Bridget, we got to have a movie night one night. Oh my God. We
I
got
don't
to
know that
get
I'm.
you schooled.
Well, you got those. I've got some more. Back to the Future. I can't believe you didn't name Back to the Future.
Oh my God. Yes. That's now out of all these movies, besides like Breakfast Club, Mannequin and Goonies, Beetlejuice, like stuff like that, I freaking loved the Back to the Future. That probably was my number one out of all these.
Well, of course, and with Michael J. Fox being the hottest guy in the 80s.
True. That is
And then
true.
Rain Man. Did you ever see Rain Man?
Yeah, I didn't like Rain Man.
I liked it.
I
And
didn't
then,
care for it.
and you missed 16 Candles.
No, that was on the list too. Cause I
Yeah.
only just listed 10 of them, but
And
16
girl, you
candles was on
missed
there.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That was on there too. Yep. Now that movie I absolutely love, and it's so funny because I got my daughter to watch it, and she fell in love with it, and she thought that Matthew Broderick was fine like wine. She fell in love with him.
Until she Googled him and realized what he looks like now.
Yeah, until she googled him and saw him now, it's like it like hurt her heart.
Yeah, and then Christine, remember the car Christine?
Oh God, that was a good movie. That was a creepy movie, but it was a good movie.
I thought it was good. And then you have The Outsiders. How could you forget The Outsiders?
Oh God, yeah, and Stand By Me.
Stand By Me. Friday the 13th. It came out in the 80s, the original one.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it did.
And y'all, last but not least, Ghostbusters.
Oh Ghostbusters, that one's so epic. I love Ghostbusters to this day. Now the one they remade with the girls, it is a cute movie, but it still doesn't hold a candle to the OG.
I never watched the remake just because I knew it wouldn't. I
You're
knew it
not
would
missing
tarnish the
nothing.
original.
You're
Yeah, I knew
really
it
not
would.
missing nothing.
Yeah. So now that you did movies, I'm gonna move on to the top songs of the 80s, and these are in no particular order. And most of these,
Okay.
like I said, I remembered them just off the top of my head. But if you have any I don't mention, I want to hear those too. But Tainted
Okay, because
Love.
I want to see if we got the
Tainted
same ones.
Love. Ooh, tainted
Tainted
love.
Love. I don't have
I
that one on
remember
my list, but I love that song.
that. Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine
What
was
about
huge back then.
1987 was when that came out.
Yep. Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Yes, I got that on my list.
And but the Police singing "Every Breath You Take," every
Oh,
breath you take,
that was
every
such a good
move you
song.
make, and then "Beat It." Michael Jackson, "Beat It." That was very popular back then.
Yep,
And
that was
then
on my list, and it come out in 1982.
you got "I Love Rock and Roll."
I love
Love
rock and
rock
roll.
and roll. So put
Put
another
another
dime on the
dime in the
jukebox,
jukebox,
baby.
baby. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that was amazing. And then you got "Girls Just Want to Have Fun."
Oh, classic Cyndi Lauper song.
"Papa Don't Preach."
Oh, yeah, oh, God, that's another good one.
And you remember Boy George, or I don't know, it ain't Boy George, Wham with "Careless Whispers." Careless whispers of the first time. I don't know. Something like that.
I had never heard that song by them.
Oh, you got to go listen to "Careless Whisper."
Yeah,
I
I had to
think you
look it
have.
up.
You have. Mm-hmm.
You
And
named
sweet dreams are, your rhythmic sweet dreams are
I
made
love that
of
song.
these. Who
Who
am
am
I
I
to
to
disagree?
disagree? You heard Marilyn Manson's version of that song?
Uh-uh.
Oh my God, it's so freaking amazing. Now, I know you're not supposed to like the remake over the OG, but I love his version of it. I do so
I'll
much
have to
better.
listen to that. I'll have
Yeah,
to
it's
listen to that.
good.
So what's some of your songs that I missed?
Um, you only missed like three of mine. I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney
I
Houston.
wanna
Um,
dance with somebody.
Somebody, you know that was my dad's favorite song.
Really?
That and you remember "Let's Hear It for the Boys." Dun,
Yes.
dun. Those were
Yes.
his two favorite songs. "Jump" by Van Halen, which come out in
Yeah.
that came out in 1984. And yeah, you did Guns N' Roses, Total Eclipse of the Heart. Yeah, it was just those three. "I Want to Dance with Somebody," "Let's Hear It for the Boys," and "Jump" by Van Halen.
Well, you know what? Another one that we both forgot that just came to my mind that was probably, I would say, one of my favorite songs of the 80s, and it was "Oh, Mickey." "Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Mickey.
Hey Mickey.
Hey, Mickey."
Hey Mickey.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and what about 99 red love balloons? Oh
Yes.
my God, I forgot about that one too. Those were
Yep.
neck and neck with each other,
Yep.
hands down. Um,
Absolutely.
oh, when you were talking about like some of the hairstyles, there was a few that we hadn't mentioned,
Go ahead.
and you mentioned the crimped hair, and then the side ponytail. But and I didn't know this about one particular hairstyle. I did not know this was popular in the 80s. I thought this was popular like in the 60s. But Jerry curl. I didn't know Jerry
Cherry
curl was
curl.
popular in the 80s.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it said Jerry curl was popular, perms, and of course the number one, mullets.
Mullet. Mullets. Yeah.
Mullet.
Even girls. I even had a mullet. I had my sides shorter than my back, so I even had a mullet. This bitch
Why
never
would you have
fails
a
to
mullet?
laugh
You're
at
a
me.
girl.
Girls had mullets back then too, darling. Ma'am. Remember, it was the movement of the 80s. We could do what the fuck we wanted to do, okay?
I mean, that wasn't back in the time where your penis could get up and walk to the sink by herself.
Yeah, they were running neck and neck. They were running neck and neck. Yes, they was. Yes, they was.
Oh
Yep.
God.
So we did that. So let's do top TV shows. Shut the fuck up. I'm
I
done.
cannot
Podcast is
picture
over.
you.
Huh?
You got this long, luxurious, gorgeous hair.
You good? You good?
Please tell me you got a picture of you with a mullet.
Yeah, I did. I've already sent it to you.
You seen it?
Uh,
Which one was it? Oh
um,
God. Um
it ain't nothing like having a damn friend that will laugh at you. I can tell you what. Swear to God. The this
Oh
heifer.
God. Oh, that was funny. Oh my god.
Glad I could
I
be some
cannot
entertainment
believe.
for you tonight.
Oh my god. You so should pull that picture up and show everybody while we live. While we record.
Listen, I'm working on it, friend.
Oh my god.
I'm working on it. Hang on just a
Oh
minute. Let me
god.
get this picture up.
Yes,
You go
y'all
ahead and
stay
talk
tuned.
about
She's gonna show us.
you go ahead and talk about a topic till I can get to that.
Oh god. Oh god. Y'all. So um in the 80s, like when she was talking about things like that we used to do and stuff like that, we too we were like we were more heavy on the arcade and going skating and riding our bikes up and down the street and all over town and stuff like that. And we used to just have so much fun. And I know like bad things happen all the time, but like in the 80s, it just wasn't, I
Oh
guess,
yeah, it
like,
was.
just didn't. I mean, it happened, but you didn't hear about it as much as you do now.
Mm-mm.
You know, back then you could ride your bike up and down your street, not be worried that candy vans coming down the street.
That's right.
You know, gonna try and be like, "Hey, little girl, you want a piece of candy?"
I still think. I mean, I told the story one time of how I about got abducted.
Yes, God, I remember that.
I think it was happening. It just wasn't happening like it does now. You
Yeah,
know, progressively the world has just got more evil, more ugly, more
it
nasty. You
has.
know,
You
so
feel a little more
I
safe in the
definitely
80s
think,
than you do now.
yeah, yeah. But I do think we were safer back then than we are now.
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
maybe we
people would.
wasn't. Maybe we wasn't, and we just didn't know it.
Yeah, maybe we were just naive. People going to bed, you know, with their windows open, their doors unlocked, and I don't think though that we ever done that. I don't think my mom and them ever left like our doors unlocked at night, and stuff like that. But I know, you know, people used to do that back in the day. I mean, we're
Oh
from a
yeah,
tiny little town, tiny town. Our population's like 2300, I think.
yeah. I'm still
So
looking
it,
for my. Here it is.
oh, you found it. Oh, that's the mullet pit. Well, that's not too bad though. You kind
Well,
of
it's
just
still.
had like the feathered bangs, and I thought you had like one that where like it went down and curled, and the sideburns were kind of gone and stacked up on top.
Well,
That's a more.
the sideburns are gone here.
Oh, are they? I mean, that's more of a feminine mullet.
The girls did have mullets back then. We
Yeah,
did. Let's see.
they
Let me.
did. Now that you're
I'm gonna Google girl
showing me
mullet
that.
for you. And for those that are listening to this on Spotify and you can't do it. Look, girls had mullets back then, dear. That was the hell. That
I'm
was
glad I never
very
wanted a
popular.
mullet. That's a hairstyle. That and oh god, rat tails were popular back then too. Yeah,
Yeah, rat tails.
yeah.
Girls definitely had mullets back then, and hot girls. A lot of pretty girls had mullets back then.
I was not big on the mullet trend.
Was you not?
No, uh. I never
Yep.
liked them and never wanted to sport one.
Oh yeah, lots of girls had mullets back then. It
And you
what
know, thinking
just
about
me.
it, looking at or thinking about older pictures of my brother and my sister, they sported the mullets. They did, and my brother also sported a rat tail when he was younger too. Yeah,
Oh yeah, you could have a mullet rat tail. You sure could.
I ain't
So let's
lying.
move on, ma'am. Let's move on. Okay, now that you've had your laugh at me, okay? It
But you
never
love
damn
me.
fails. I just
You
gotta
love
ask you a
me.
question though. I gotta ask you one question.
Huh?
Did Jason ever take out the trash?
Girl, can you believe he took the fucking trash out this morning? But he come out and I heard him feeling, fouling, and pushing stuff down in the trash can. And I said, "Oh," I said, "Yay, thank you. You're gonna take the trash out." He said, "Well, no, I wasn't gonna take it out right now." I said, "Well, I can't start cooking my soup and cooking dinner until you take the damn trash out." And he took it out, boxes and all. Yes.
Bless him.
After 2 days of it being full.
Bless him. Okay, so top TV shows. I know you're gonna remember a lot of these.
Oh, I
Married
need to
with
look those up.
Children. Married with
Yes, Married
Children.
with Children. That was a good show.
Hmm. Of course, Family Ties, but you had Michael J. Fox, so
Oh, yes.
um Silver Spoons,
Uh huh.
Roseanne was
Oh,
popular back then.
definitely favorite
I
out
know,
of
I
all
love
those
those.
you've named so far.
The Wonder Years.
I love that Weenie. Weenie was my favorite. Her and Kevin, they were so cute together.
Full House. Everybody loved Full House back
Oh
then.
yeah,
They still do to this day.
another epic show.
Happy Days,
Yep.
Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, I love
Mer-
Laverne and Shirley more than I did Happy Days.
well, they came on back to back on during the day or in the afternoon, and I liked them both. I really did. I don't know. I think I liked Happy Days better just because of Fonzie and Chachi.
Oh yeah, yeah. Scott Baio, like I
Hmm.
mean, he was like eye candy.
Yeah. So Murder She Wrote. You remember that one?
Yes,
Yep.
Angela
And then
Lansbury.
not Angela Lansbury. And then you had Knight Rider.
I never really watched Knight Rider, but my dad and my brother. But now the theme song, I love the theme song, but I never really watched Knight Rider.
Yeah, and then you had Magnum PI and Dallas. Remember Who Shot
Yes,
JR?
I do. And don't forget wrestling. Don't forget about
Oh
WWE
yeah, people are.
or
Yeah.
WWF,
So now let me
whatever.
ask you a question. Do you remember Who Shot JR?
I'm not gonna lie, I do not remember who shot JR.
I don't either, but I almost want to say wasn't it his wife Sue Ellen?
Was
Wasn't
it?
that her name? I'm gonna Google
I
Who
think Sue
Shot
Ellen was
JR.
that. I remember Sue Ellen. I'm pretty sure that was her name, but I don't remember.
It says
Knots
Who Done
Landon.
It? Who?
Um, Knots Landon was another
Not
show.
Landon was big.
Yep, that Dallas Dynasty and Knots Landon, all three ran neck and neck in the 80s. They were all three popular soap opera nighttime shows.
Yep. They basically said that his sister-in-law, which was his wife's sister, and she ended up being she was his mistress as well, shot him in a fit of anger. Her name was Kristen Shepherd, or
Oh, I don't remember
yeah,
that at all. But now I never
I don't
really
either.
watched. The only thing that I watched with my mama was Knots Landing, but she would watch Dynasty in Dallas.
Yeah,
And I'll never forget, like, even though I don't remember who it was, I remember that she was like, "Oh my God, JR got shot. What the fuck? You must beat, beat, beat." You know, 'cause my mama's Italian. She cusses like a sailor. And she was like, "Oh my God." So I remember her watching those, but I just didn't watch. Though for some reason, I don't know. I really love Knots Landing.
right. Well, I think the '80s was very popular for soap operas at night. You like you said, you had Dynasty,
Yeah,
Knots Landing, Dallas. You had all them soap opera type shows at night, but that didn't last long. I think by the time we got in the '90s, we got out of that for sure.
yeah, I think so too.
What else you got?
That's all I got on the 80s.
Okay, well, I'll keep going then. Okay, so let me tell y'all some interesting facts about the '80s. Okay, in 1980, John Lennon was shot and killed. That happened in the
Yes.
'80s. And also in 1981, there was two assassination attempts on President Ronald Reagan, but that was the first one in 1981.
Oh well, I remember that, but I didn't know that what the years of that was.
Yep. And then 1983, the internet was created.
Wow.
So
Oh
it's been
my
around
God.
since 1983. It just never gained popularity, I would say, until the 90s,
Yeah.
basically. In 1985, the Titanic wreckage was discovered.
Darn.
Hmm. And in 1986, everybody remembers this. That's when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded.
I do remember that. I do remember that.
Hmm. They had us all watching that in school, to watch the space shuttle take off. And when it blew up, they turned the TVs off. They said, we all turned the TVs off, and they kept checking on. I remember the teachers checked on it
Oh,
all day to see what was coming of that. Yep.
I was
Now,
7.
I'll go ahead.
I was 7
You
when
was
that
how old?
happened. 7.
Oh, okay. So you were kind of young. Yeah, you were kind of
Yeah.
young. So also some of the hottest cars in the 80s was the Ford Mustang
Oh
GT, of
my
course.
God, yes. We had a Ford Mustang and a Ford
That
Granada.
was a Yep. And then the Porsche, that was very popular, but it was the 911. It was the Porsche 911 that was popular. Pontiac Firebird, y'all remember it? The Trans
My
Am,
sister
basically
had
they
one of
called it.
those.
Yep. The Chevy Camaro, which I had one of those.
Oh, my brother, he
Muscle
was a Chevy
cars.
Camaro guy. And he would go from, he would have a black Camaro, then he'd go get a red Camaro. So every car he got was a Camaro up until he got older. Now it's all Nissans, I think.
Yeah. And I think the 80s was just very popular for muscle cars.
It
The
was.
Lamborghini, the Lamborghini Countach or whatever they call it, the Ferrari Testarossa, and the DeLorean DMC, which I think the DeLorean became really popular when Back to the Future came out.
Yeah, it did. It really did.
hmm So let's go on to 80s lingo. Holly, do you remember any of the lingo from the 80s, stuff that we would say back then?
Uh, oh my God. I don't, it's like I know it, but I'd have to kind of hear it and be like, oh yeah. But,
Yeah, just
I
off the
mean, I
top of your head,
remember
can't
Dude. Like, Dude was real popular. In the 80's. Um, People always said rock on. I remember that, but I don't know. You have to say something. I'll tell you if I remember them.
Well, back then, the Valley Girls came out. And so all of us girls talk like the Valley Girls. And all my friends, we've been around talking like this for like a year. Okay? It was like a full year. And so the popular saying, ooh, gag me with a spoon. You remember that one?
See, I do, but for me that come out for us in the 90's. That's when we started talking like that. For us, when we were in school, was in the 90's because you had Clueless that come out. That was like
Yeah.
OMG. So that hit us when in the 90's for us. I had no idea that was in the 80's era.
Yeah, it was in the late 80s. Yep. Because I remember being in the upper grades of high school. So it's probably about 87, 88.
Oh
But oh yeah, that was the Valley
wow.
Girls. That's
Oh
the
my
and then
God, Becky.
and then you had a lot of skaters and surfers. So stuff like gnarly, bogus, radical, awesome, bitchin',
Oh
all of the
yeah.
tubular. That's so
Yeah.
tubular. So basically, gag me with a spoon means that's disgusting. Gnarly means amazing or awesome. Bodacious means out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
You heard the saying back in the 80s, it started then. Why don't you take a chill pill? Just
Oh
take a chill
God,
pill, okay?
yes. Chill pill. Or psych. What
And
about
that
when
just
people used
meant
to say psych,
psych.
psych? You remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, chill pill just meant calm down. Grody, you remember the word grody? That's so
Uh-uh.
grody. Yeah,
Uh-uh. I
that
never
just
heard of
means
that.
gross. And we come up with no duh. No duh.
No, duh.
Um, no duh. You don't remember that?
I just remember duh.
Yeah, we would say no duh. And then we would say we're just going to go home and veg out.
Yeah, I do remember that one.
Uh huh. And freakazoid. Remember the word freak? It said, ooh, he's a freakazoid.
I do remember Freakazoid. Yes.
And that
I do
basically just
remember
meant they're
that.
a weirdo. Yeah, just they're
Yep.
just a weirdo. And we'd go around saying somebody'd say something, and we go, yeah, big whoop, big whoop.
Oh yeah, I remember Big Whoop. But we would say Big Woo. For us it was Big
big
Woo.
big woo, yeah. But hella, and cheesy both of those came out in the 80s. We say hella now, but we said it back then too.
That is so funny. I definitely remember Cheesy.
Yeah, it's like, girl, that's so cheesy. But
What
yeah,
was that?
but I'm gonna end it. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what was that commercial? You remember? Remember back in the day, the old Cheetos commercial, and he would go, "It ain't easy being cheesy." You remember that? You remember that commercial?
The commercial I remember popular in the 80s was Wendy's. Where's the beef?
Oh my God, we should have looked up commercials too. I wasn't thinking about
I
that.
know.
The
Listen,
jingles
this
back
won't be the
then.
last one we do.
Yeah, we had to
We
do a
won't be the
part
last
two.
80s.
I hope
Yeah.
y'all enjoyed this.
But
This was
anyhow, y'all,
fun.
I'm gonna leave you. We're gonna leave you with the median. cost of living back in the
Yes.
80s. So a new house would have cost you about $76,400 for a middle class home. Okay. But the median income, okay, so this is a middle class income, $16,354 a year.
Hell, that still goes on to this day with people not upping
Oh
their
no.
wages like they should.
Yep. A new car would run you around $7,200.
God, let's rewind the time back then, please.
Yep. A movie ticket was about $2.69. A gallon of gas was $1.30. A postage stamp was 15 cents. A 5 pound bag of sugar was $2.14. A gallon of milk was $1.60. A
Oh,
pound of coffee was That's something, ain't it? A pound of coffee
yeah.
was 3.14. A dozen eggs was 91 cents, and a loaf of bread was
91
51
cent.
cents. 91 cents.
91 cent. And you are paying, we are now paying $6 and $7 for a carton of fucking eggs.
Yep. Yeah, and a loaf of bread was 51 cents. So I could
Oh,
definitely go back to 80s prices.
oh God, me too. We would nobody would struggle. The economy would do amazing if they did that. But what it is people got money hungry. And it kept
Yep.
going and going and going and going.
Yep. Yep. That's where we are today, y'all, 20
That's
some years later.
cool. So, Bridge, what is our next episode that they have to look forward to?
Top 10 songs on our playlist. So we going to share our top 10 songs. That one won't be a real long podcast. You just state your 10 songs. And y'all, it's going to be interesting to see how different of music that me and Holly like. We're going to see how this turns
Yes.
out. But y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. We're glad you did. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you listen to us on Spotify, make sure you subscribe over there too. But anyhow, love you guys.
Love you guys.
Bye.